Welcome to FRCmedia News for Thursday, December 19th, 2019. I'm Keith Tebow. This week, Governor Baker and the local legislative delegation lends a hand in funding Fall River's replica Vietnam Veterans Wall. Improvements forge ahead at the Tansy Elementary School, and we'll fill you in on a local coat drive and a toy drive this holiday season. We'll have those stories and more in just a few moments, but first, let's check in with the news headlines of the week. We bring in Phil Devitt, the digital news editor at the Herald News. Hey, Phil, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Keith. Merry almost Christmas.
Yeah, same to you. Final weeks of the year, and we talked about it last week. Not a lot of major stories coming out as people are preparing for the holidays, but we do have a couple of items of note this week. Something that was just posted online at the Herald News prior to us coming on the air is it looks like there'll be a second recreational marijuana dispensary here in Fall River after the state's Cannabis Control Commission approved an application yesterday.
Yeah, so Hope Heal Health is, at this point, a familiar name here in the city. They've been open for medical marijuana sales here since February. Hard to believe that was almost a year ago. And so, put in for a provisional license to sell recreational marijuana earlier this year, and it looks like that has finally been approved by the State Cannabis Control Commission. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to open their doors to recreational sales right away. That might take some time, as it did for the only other purveyor of recreational marijuana in the city right now, which would be Northeast Alternatives on William S. Cannon Boulevard. We've talked in recent weeks about Northeast Alternatives and some of the traffic problems there, right, Keith, which some have said are caused in part by the fact that it's been the only place to get recreational marijuana in the city for some time. So, we'll see if this alleviates that particular problem. But yeah, it looks like very soon we will have two operating recreational facilities in the city.
And in terms of where it is, in terms of the city, it's on West Street. And I actually had to go to Google Maps. Being a Fall River boy all my life, I still had to go to Google Maps to find out where West Street is. It's actually in the middle, in the north end of Fall River, right after you get past the new Brightman Street Bridge, the Veterans Memorial Bridge, and then you make that turn on 79. It's a mill complex right to the right there. So it's actually in the north end of the city. We've got Northeast Alternatives in the south end. So maybe, as you said, it'll spread out the wealth, if you will, between those two locations. And there's still some other potential marijuana dispensary applications before the state, and I guess we may hear more about it or not, depending, of course, on what the commission feels in terms of its investigation of Mayor Correa and the issuance of those non-opposition letters earlier this year.
Yeah, that's true, Keith. The investigation obviously plays a big role in this, but also we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is new, right, and we haven't been here before. So there's really not a ton of precedent to give us an indication as to how long these things are supposed to take, regardless. So, but we'll stay tuned. We have a great reporter, Peter Jasinski, here, who's following the marijuana business, and so we'll stay on top of that as well.
Absolutely. Let's move on now to education. It seemed like, again, as we look at the end of the year and things that happened throughout 2019, earlier this year there was some transition at Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School, where their longtime former superintendent Thomas Aubin stepped down, and an interim superintendent and director and principal, Elvio Ferreira, took over. But now it looks like Diamond is going to be moving ahead to filling that principal position, where Mr. Ferreira had served in both roles since probably April sometime.
Yeah, this is the big news at Diamond and a big opening at Diamond. The Regional School Committee says this month that it's ready to hire a full-time principal. They're going to be looking at internal and external candidates. We talked to Joan Menard, who's part of the Regional School Committee for Diamond, and she said we want everybody to have a shot. So they're casting a wide net here in terms of people they're looking at for this job. As you mentioned, Keith, Thomas Aubin left the district in April after the school committee declined to renew his contract. Since then, Elvio Ferreira has stepped in, but the district has been without a full-time principal since then.
Right.
And it's. I mean, you could argue that it's critical to have somebody in that full-time role all year round, but this is an especially critical time for the district. We're told that business offices are being moved off-site for the school, which means that somebody who's doubling up on jobs in the administration might have to be two places at once. So, as far as the timeline goes, we're looking at January 9th for applications, but that could be extended. And then finalists will be interviewed before the regional school committee at some point early next year.
Yeah, and of course there's a lot going on at Diamond with talk of a new high school potentially at Stonehaven Road or somewhere else in the city of Fall River, as Diamond is looking, as Durfee High School is doing currently, building a new facility there. So to make that split, we'll have greater opportunity for the two individuals to focus on specific projects, and having the principal focusing more probably on the day-to-day activity at the school itself, while the superintendent director sort of the big ticket and 30,000-foot view of Diamond Regional. Also this week, in terms of economic development in Fall River, the city has been potentially looked at as a site for a company in nearby Newport to move into Fall River, SecZeta. Earlier this month, the Fall River City Council approved a TIF that would give the company over $36,000 in potential tax breaks, real estate and personal property tax rates for over 5 years. And now it looks like the state of Massachusetts, through the RDA, is looking to give SecZeta some money to move into Fall River. So potential good news for more jobs here.
It is potential good news for more jobs. We've talked about SecZeta quite a bit, I think, over the last month or two, ever since it became apparent that they were interested in relocating to Massachusetts, but in particular Fall River. And it's looking more likely that move will happen. SecZeta is a cybersecurity firm, as you mentioned, based in Newport. And now a good chunk of change through the Massachusetts Economic Development Incentive, I guess you call it the Incentive Award, according to the RDA. Basically, it translates to $200,000 in state tax credits, which is appealing to this company for obvious reasons. And that's on top of what the City Council approved earlier this month, which would essentially save the company about $36,000 in local property taxes over the course of several years. And so the company is saying very nice things about the city. It's using firmer language as far as a move, possibly to Commonwealth Landing off of Duval Street, although that's not confirmed.
Right.
So we have the state and the city throwing all of these incentives at the company. What is the company planning to bring to Fall River? Well, as we previously talked about, 20 existing jobs, but they've also pledged to create another 70 at least over the next few years as the business expands. So this could be an exciting economic development opportunity. Yeah,
absolutely, and we'll see how that progresses as we enter into 2020. And as we wrap up 2019, I know you teased this last week, Phil, about the Herald News going over some of its Newsmakers of the Year. And I just want to tap your brain a little bit about who's been coming up in terms of the nominees thus far.
Sure. So in a city as diverse and as busy as Fall River, it's difficult to pin down what the big stories are sometimes. Yeah. But there are, of course, a bunch that rise to the top, I'm sure, in everybody's mind. We've talked about them here. But every day, online and in print, we're revealing one of our newsmakers. And we're calling them Newsmaker nominees because this will all culminate in what we're calling our Newsmaker of the Year, December 29th. So far, we've put out stories about Paul Coogan, of course, who had quite the year. Right. Losing the recall election, but then winning the general election in November. He'll be our next mayor. Acting Mayor Cliff Ponte, another Newsmaker nominee for the year he's had. Not only in terms of becoming acting mayor, winning re-election to the city council, but you might remember he, along with his father, reopened Almac's Diner. That's right. Which is a big deal for us foodies here in the city. And we're also looking across the water at Brayton Point, which has had quite the year, between the towers coming down and now some controversy over businesses operating there without the proper permitting from the town of Somerset, supposedly. Boy, I'm just going down the list here. There's a bunch of stuff, but positive stuff as well.
Right.
You might remember St. Anne's Shrine, which looked like it was going to close. A bunch of really dedicated, good-hearted volunteers stepped up to essentially save that place, along with the Fall River Diocese that sold it to this group for $1, a year.
Right.
So many interesting stories, and we wish we could recap all of them, but alas, there's no time to do that.
No. That's why people should buy the paper every day and subscribe.
Yes,
there you go.
See them in real time.
See it in real time. Why look back? All right, Phil, we want to thank you. Thank you for all your help in 2019. This is the last time we'll be talking to one another in 2019, but we'll be doing it once again as January revs up and we begin a new year. So Merry Christmas to you and to all the staff there at the Herald News, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Keith, and likewise back to all of you there and thanks for all your great work. It's been a fun year.
Great. We'll have more right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Call center agent. Mechanics Cooperative Bank, located at 60 Bedford Street, is looking to hire a full-time call center agent, responsible for assisting customers with questions or issues regarding their accounts, received by phone or correspondence. Job number 129-51460. Collections Representative, Primacare, located at 277 Pleasant Street, is looking for a full-time collections representative to make outbound calls and answer incoming calls from patients, verifying account information and taking credit card payments over the phone. Job number 129-45168. Program Supervisor, Stepping Stone Incorporated, located at 522 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time program supervisor to perform and oversee the management of program operations, direct and supervise program staff, and coordinate program services. Job number 129-45177. South Coast Health, located at 363 Highland Avenue, is looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Risk Manager, job number 129-56118. Radiation Therapist, job number 129-56062. McDonald's, located at 300 Plymouth Avenue, is also looking to fulfill the following full and part-time positions. Maintenance Associate, job number 129-57561. Shift Supervisor, job number 129-57565. For more information on these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker was in Fall River this week to announce that the state is awarding a $450,000 grant to help fund the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall to be constructed at Heritage State Park. During the press conference, the governor explained the importance of honoring Vietnam vets.
There's a woman named Myra McPherson who wrote a book back in 1984. It was called Long Time Passing, Vietnam and the Haunted Generation. It's a really good book, but there was one quote in particular from it that I thought was emblematic of what that war meant to both those who served in it and those who didn't, and would be particularly appropriate to reference today, which was, above all, Vietnam was a war that asked everything of a few and nothing of most in America. That's why memorials to those who served in Vietnam are so important. Because not only did we ask them to make the big commitment associated with serving in the military and putting themselves in terrible harm's way in Southeast Asia, but then their work and their service in many cases was misrepresented. The public officials who sent them there lied to them and lied to the country. And many of those folks, when they came back, were shunned. Not just ignored, but shunned. And I simply can't remember or imagine a situation or a circumstance where such an enormous price was paid by those who wore the uniform on our behalf. And that's why these memorials matter so much.
A $150,000 state legislative appropriation brings the total awarded so far to $600,000. The goal is to raise $1.4 million. The $2.9 million window replacement project at the Tansy Elementary School in Fall River is nearing completion this month, as we hear in this report.
So the window replacement of the Tansy School is obviously a custom design because all the window sizes are different. So each window had to be measured. The old windows had to be removed and abated because caulking and those items are usually hot with either asbestos or other hazardous items. So all of that work has to be completed first. Once that's done, they put temporary windows in, and that took us through the summer and some of the fall. Window replacements are usually a 20-week process between design, removal, and installation, and then the final completion, which is what's going on now with the weatherproofing. That whole process for this building is one portion of the entire project. The second portion of this project is boiler replacement. So we had two boilers, one original and one boiler which was put in 2008. 2008 will now become the backup boiler, and a new boiler will take over the main duties of heating this building. The third part of this project is making the building handicap accessible. So being a one-story building, we're in pretty good shape already, but bathrooms were not handicap accessible. The main entrance was iffy as to whether or not it was handicap accessible, so we've made all of those upgrades. 2 new bathrooms, a boys and girls room. We have the new ramp in front of the building. We've added handicap parking and a new paved area. Some of the extras on the project that we were able to complete because the project came in at a very good price was we paved the entire back parking lot of the building, and we made some improvements in the fire alarm system, the burglar alarm system, and a couple of roofing aspects that we needed to take care of.
Fall River Salvation Army personnel on Bedford Street have been busy this fall, buying new coats for children to wear during the winter months. The clothing will be delivered to families in need before Christmas Day.
We do a program called Clothe a Child. So parents come in October and sign up for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. For kids 12 and under, the parent can either choose a new winter coat or a new outfit. Really depends on the age. 5 and under, the parent can choose one or the other. The angel tags we write out after the applications are done. So it has the first name of the child, male, female, the age, and then what the parent is looking for in the size. So it can either be a new winter coat or a brand new outfit. All the items are brand new. The employees pick a tag, and then they just go out and purchase the item, and sometimes they'll bring it back by themselves, or the whole company will bring it. We had Liberty Utilities yesterday come by with 70 gifts because they took 70 children, and they brought extra coats as well that didn't have tags in case we needed them. I'm gonna say we probably have close to 1,100 coats.
Now, when are they going to be delivered, and how are they delivered?
Families are scheduled to come in before Christmas to come pick up the items, and when they pick up their coats, they'll also get a food basket as well to go with it.
The Fall River Boys and Girls Club is the proud recipient of a toy drive donation this holiday season. FRC Media News got the details from the club's executive director, William Kiley.
The state police from the Dartmouth Barracks do a big toy drive every December, and they donate toys to the Wareham, New Bedford, and Fall River Boys and Girls Club. We have a room full of toys. Our kids, we have 2 parties for our kids, one on Thursday, one on Friday. Anyone who's in the building gets a present. We also take care of probably 50 or so families in need and donate entire gifts for the entire family. And older kids get the opportunity to pick gifts for their younger siblings. So it's a win-win all the way around. We had a number of bikes donated through the State Police Toy Drive, and we also had 8 bikes donated by Rusco Incorporated, Fall River Company. They held a team building event, and they selected us to be the recipient of the bikes they built. So again, fortunate that the community supports us the way they do.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Thank you for considering a homeless pet today. I hope you enjoy what you're about to see, and as always, please feel free to contact the shelter before coming down to make sure that the pets you're viewing are still available for adoption. We can be reached at 508-677-9154.
Today we have Darla. Darla here is a 6.5-year-old, long hair, as you can see. She's a little bit more active right now than she usually is. She tends to be a little bit of a lazy cat. She'll find a nice spot to hang out and she'll just nap away. She would, however, make a good lap cat. You know, you want to sit at home, watch some TV. Or she may or may not be okay with dogs. Probably calm dogs she would do okay with. But she's usually very low key. So I think she would appreciate a home that has at least, you know, normal comings and goings, daily activity, that sort of thing, but nothing too high energy. So if you'd like to meet Darla, you can come on down to 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts at Forever Paws Animal Shelter.
Today we have Yoshi. Yoshi is a 4-year-old Japanese chin. He's a sweet little guy who loves everyone. Yoshi would make a great companion for someone. He would probably do better in a home with older children because he is very small. He's a sweet little guy. He loves to explore, loves to investigate everything. Yoshi would do best in a home with older children because he is a very small dog. So if you want to meet this little guy, come on down to Forever Paws at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River and say hi.
The Citizens for Citizens Food Pantry has seen an increase in participants in the last few months, but the reason is not readily apparent, although CFC spokesperson Crystal Arpra has a theory.
Everyone's scared. I know they say the economy is doing great, but I don't know. I can't say that I think that's true. With the influx that I've seen and the people getting scared, a lot of people have lost food stamps, so they don't have that any longer. So we've seen a significant increase. We get food from the Greater Boston Food Bank, but we're strictly funded by small grants and monetary donations from privates and companies.
FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. and online at frcmedianews.org. Now next week, join us for a special edition of FRC Media News as we look back at the top stories that made news in Fall River in 2019. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a very Merry Christmas and thanks for watching.